Welcome to this video on the way of things. Today we're walking up this canyon and we're talking about petroglyphs in this little lesson. And in particular, this particular glyph site, it's a relatively small glyph site. It has the classic dots and of course the classic circle with a line, which is an atlatl, which kind of tells you something right there, that it's about hunting. Of course, this is an area that people would hunt bighorn sheep, and it's also an area that's specific. That this glyph site is not randomly chosen. It's not art for art's sake. It's not rock art in that sense, that it was just for beauty. This glyph site is in a specific place in the environment. You could say that it's etched into the physical environment, but to anybody who truly understands it knows that it's also etched into the psychological environment. And that's the environment, the psychological environment of predator and prey. Now what we have here is a place in the environment that if you go just past this glyph site, you get into sight of a spring. And what that means is if you go beyond this, an animal like a bighorn sheep or something, or a deer that would be at the spring, would be aware of you if you just went walking through here without any kind of care. So this is a strategic point in the environment, both the physical environment and the psychological environment of the hunter and of what he's hunting. So this is why this glyph is here, and this is the kind of things you can learn from these glyph sites. So let's take a look at the spring that's just up the canyon, and we can see what we're talking about. Well, here we are at the spring. Now this spring, as far as I know, has never gone dry. I've known it for over 30 years. And of course, the fact that we have a petroglyph associated with it tells us that it's had water for thousands of years. And of course, the game trail indicates that, or the game trails around it. It has numerous game trails, indicate that the sheep have been using it for literally thousands of years. And of course, the people used to come here and probably came here and hunted for over 1,000 years, and that's changed. The people no longer come and use the land the way the hunter-gatherers, the Indians, did, but the sheep are still the bighorn sheep, and they still walk the same game trails, drink at the same springs, and pass the ancient glyph sites like they always have. So let's go down and take a look at these glyphs again and see what we can learn. So we can think of several or various scenarios that would give us some understanding of how this glyph might have worked. The first one is if we can imagine a hunter, a Native American, coming up here. Maybe he's in his early 20s. He already has a wife and maybe 2 children, and they're depending on him to bring food. And maybe a whole tribe, that is his family, down in the valley. And so he's up here really trying to get something to eat. And so this site here would tell him that, you know, this is a place to start paying attention, that you're starting to end up in the zone of the spring, where if an animal's at the spring and you just walked up here without any care, that animal's going to see you and you're never going to make a successful hunt. And so this place would have kind of an emotional impact to him. It would mean something to him. He would be, of course, a hunter that knows that this area changes, but this might have been something to remind him, or something that he was a part of at a different time. Another scenario we can imagine is that perhaps maybe 3 or 4 hunters come up here, and they stopped here and camped, and then stayed for maybe 2 or 3 days just out of sight of the spring. And in doing so, they waited until they saw a bighorn sheep or a deer or an elk move into position that they could make a good hunt. And then in our final scenario, one of the ways I've used glyphs is I've talked with people who know glyphs, and you end up using them to describe a very specific place. So a hunter coming up to this site might have talked with an elder down in the valley, and this elder would have said, when you get to the glyph site, this is what you want to do. If it's windy, it's a cold day, it's a hot day, whatever the weather pattern was, the time of year, would have all made a difference. And this older hunter, maybe too old to get up here, could give instructions to the newer hunter, but with a very precise point. And this hunter, this older hunter and the younger hunter would have had actually two very specific points to work with, and that is the petroglyph site and the spring site. So somebody giving a description of this area would have those very specific, accurate places to describe and talk about, and it would have been very useful in the passing of information. And of course, a symbol is just that. It is passing information. So we have in this glyph site, even though it's not a large glyph site or one that has really beautiful, well done glyphs, it has a certain beauty of itself because it is etched into the landscape of both the physical landscape and the psychological landscape, and that's the beauty of it. And when we understand these things, we become part of the beauty that is the way of things. And with that, I thank you.